Okay, now this next section of drumming is one of my favorites because I really believe that what I'm going to teach you now is mastering this is like the golden key that allows you to go through the door into the world, the real world of drumming. Until you master this portion of the lessons and get control over playing two different stick heights with single strokes, it's difficult to go on to more advanced stuff because it's not possible to go on because everything else, virtually everything else, is built upon a framework of being able to control two different stick heights. Now, in the very beginning, we talked about grip and hand position, and we did some basic strokes. And one of the strokes that we did was called float stroke, where the stick floats up smoothly and accelerates down like this. Okay. I also call that accent stroke because that's you use a float stroke motion to play an accent. So we can call this an accent. It's a full height stroke, up, down. And the important part of this accent stroke or float stroke is when you finish the downward motion, you hit the drum and you stop again in rest position. And it's very important that you stop at 2.5 to 3 inches high because if you stop lower than that, I'll show you in a minute why, it doesn't work because the drumming that follows, your sticks aren't in position for that. So the first thing you need to practice for this section is to go back and review that accent stroke or float stroke. And I'll demonstrate again. You hold on to the stick, you use your wrist, no flipping, relaxed, strong stroke. It floats up, accelerates down. It's important that it comes down with some strength and support, and you hit that drum strong and it stops. Some people call this downstroke. You come down and you stop down. That's fine, works for me. I call it accent stroke. The other thing you got to do is, I kind of hesitate to use the word stop. Sometimes people interpret that to mean tension and stiffness. You don't want that at all. Some people call it cushioning the stick, where you use the muscles in your hand to kind of cushion it and end it. But I really think you do have to tell the truth about the fact that you got to stop the stick down low at the end of that stroke. Stop. And it stops right there in rest position. Now, rest position has got to be 2.5 to 3 inches high because the next stroke that we need to learn, and this is the next preliminary stroke, is called tap stroke. Sometimes called grace note stroke, because later when we get to flams, this is the same motion we use to play the grace note of a flam. Let's go on to grace note stroke. Now, there's a couple of rules about grace note or tap stroke. I'm just going to call it tap stroke for now, because that's the context we're going to use it in first. Taps only go down. They drop. So the motion for a tap stroke is down, up, down, up. Now I want you to notice I'm holding my left stick in rest position alongside my right stick. It's kind of a guide. It's kind of like touching a hot iron. It hits the drum and it comes right back up. It's one continuous motion. Down, up, down, up. And there's quite a bit of energy expended in pulling the stick back up. The downward motion just kind of falls. You don't have to try to hit the drum. Down, up, 2, 3, 4, down, up, 2, 3, 4, down, up. It's relaxed, but it's quick. And down, up, 2. One continuous motion. Down, up. Okay, now you can see what that looks like. The two most common mistakes that you have to make sure you avoid and don't do is, first, is to lift the stroke before it goes down. That doesn't work. You can't lift the stroke. You have to drop it only. Down, up. So sometimes people will get this little, even the tiniest little hint of lifting will come back to haunt you later. You've got to hold the stick motionless and drop it. Down, up. One continuous motion. Smooth and relaxed, but quick. Down, up. Down, up. Now, at this point, sometimes people will kind of feather tap the head and not really hit it. Use the weight of the stick in your hand. Drop it completely into the head, make a good contact with the head, and lift it right back up. It's obviously not loud, but it's well supported. It's not a wimpy stroke. It's got substance. It's also why 2.5, 3 inches at the very most is a good stick height. Lower, that's not enough room to play a tap stroke. And if you hold your sticks down there, you'll put yourself in a position where you have to lift, and that's bad. Just drop. 2, 3, 4, down, up, So the number one rule about taps is taps go down. They don't lift and prepare. They go down. Okay, so now practicing that is very, very important. You've got to take some time and go slow and master that. For some people, it's difficult at first. They have a hard time because we've been lifting the sticks to play. Now there's a new set of rules, and you've got to master another way to move the stick. Down, up. Now, once you have that motion down, you may understand it. Obviously, it's not that complex. It's not that hard to do correctly. But you need literally hundreds of repetitions to train your muscles and your mind to automatically do that. Your brain thinks low tap stroke, plop. Your hand just goes plop. That's the way you do it. It's a habit. It's automatic, and you don't even really have to think about it. Because once we start mixing this up with other strokes, if that motion isn't really well defined and trained into your muscles, it will be hard to do. So do a ton of those, a bunch. I recommend turning on a metronome, slow tempo, look at the clock, say, okay, I'm doing this 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just go, marathon taps, and just sit there and do it over and over again. Down it, down it. It's important to pause for a while in between so your muscles have a chance to recover and think about the next one. It's all about precision and accuracy. Don't rush through it and do it incorrectly. Now, once we've mastered that stroke, it's time to start putting the accent stroke and the tap stroke together. Now, let's leap forward and let's kind of look at the end and think about where we're headed with this. Our goal is to be able to play accent patterns, combining accents and taps together. These are the low taps, dropping motion, and then we have accents. So, those are accents and taps. So I can play 16th note patterns. I can play triplet patterns. The flexibility and the control required to play these low notes combined with high notes, it takes some practice. But when you can do that, a whole new part of drumming opens up to you. And it's very cool and it's very fun. It's very exciting. People often rush through this, don't take the time to learn the tap stroke, and they go like, oh yeah, I got it. And then they try to play taps and accents. It ends up looking like this. It doesn't work. The biggest reason for that is because it takes some practice to stop the stick low and drop. Now, the other reason people have problems doing that is because they're not holding on to the stick. You've got to be able to hold on to your stick. Keep your finger, you don't squeeze it, it's not a death grip, but you've got to keep the skin on the stick. All available skin on the stick, relaxed. The accent stroke comes in, stops. You don't flip, if you don't have a hold of the stick and you play an accent, the stick is going to bounce back up. And then you're not in a position to play a low tap. You've got to stop the stick low so then you can drop the next note in. Okay? Now, there's a couple of intermediate steps that we should go through to practice combining this tap motion together with the accent motion. The first is this. Okay, just a quick review. We got an accent, that stops. And then we've got the tap stroke, down, up, down, up. Well, when it comes time to combine the two, the first thing we have to do is instead of going down, up here, we need to float up to accent height. So it would go, the next motion to practice is this, down, up. It's a floating, smooth motion, but it happens immediately. Down, up. Just like the float stroke. Down, up. Down, up. The little tap motion is kind of just a precursor to the lift for the accent. Down, up. So do this with me. Ready, go. Down, up. Back to rest position. Ready, and down, up. Again, back to rest position. Don't let the tap lift at all. Drop it. Ready, go. Down, up. All right, now practice that on both hands so you can get that nice and smooth. The next step is we just did the first half of the accent or the float stroke part of it. So now let's finish it. We're going to go down, we're going to float up, and then we're going to come back down and stop in rest position. So it looks like this. Down, up, down. Down, up, down. Let's do that together. Ready, go. Down, up, down. Stop, pause for a moment. Now, did you stop your stick in rest position or did you let it go fly back up again? If you let go of your fingers, I guarantee you, your stick's flying back up on you. You've got to be able to hold on to the stick and be relaxed and smooth. We don't want death grip. All right, let's try it again. Down, up, down. Ready, go. Down, up, down. Ready, and down, up, down. Ready, go. Down, up, down. Ready, and down, up, down. Now, here's another thing we need to do. We need to do this. Hold your other stick up hold your left stick up next to your right. We've got both sticks in rest position. This is going to be a guide for us. When we finish the accent stroke, the stick should be right there. Ready, go. Down, up, down. See how my stick's stopping right next to my left one? Down, up, down. Ready, and down, up, down. Ready, go. Down, up, down. Now, you got to take your time. You got to do that slow and make sure that the dropping stroke of the tap happens properly with no lifting or preparation. Then you flow up out of the tap stroke smoothly into the float stroke, down, and stop back in rest position. Because the next step is to add a tap after the accent. So we're going to do this. Down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up. Ready, go. Down, up, down, down, up. Ready, and down, up, down, down, up. Now, another common mistake, well, let's back up. Let's talk about the two major mistakes that people make. First of all, they either lift the tap. We talked about that before. But at the end of the accent stroke, they don't stop the stick low. They get this. Look where my stick is. That doesn't work. It's got to stop here, right there. It can't do this. And come back up into this area. Otherwise, you won't be able to play the next tap. The next problem is after recovering, then the next tap lifts. That's a big mistake. Down, up, down, down, lifting that tap. You got to stop the accent and drop the tap. So down, up, down, down, up. Ready, go. Down, up, down, down, up. Now, what we've isolated and broken down here is accent stroke, tap stroke, and connecting the two together. Once you've connected the two together and retained the proper execution of each one, then it's just a matter of playing more and more taps. So let's fill in more taps. Let's play down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The second, we'll play 4 notes and the second one's an accent. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Now I want to point something out. We are going slow enough that we're kind of stopping between each tap stroke. But we don't want to make that a really jerky, stiff thing. You don't want to lock up your muscles and stop. It's just that if you play, it only takes so long to play a tap stroke, and if we're going slower than that, then you're just going to pause for a minute. Ultimately, as we gradually speed this up, we'll connect it together and the stick will move continuously. Kind of like the difference between accent stroke and multiple stroke in the earlier lessons. But those tap strokes, once they're continuous, they still drop down, 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 down. That style of motion is absolutely essential. So let's go back to the 4-note series with the second note as an accent. Let's just do that some more. Watch my sticks make your sticks move exactly like mine. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Float down. Accelerate down. Strong accent. Down. Coming down strong actually helps you stop the stick low for the following taps. It's the speed of the stroke that gives you the strength, not tension or sheer muscle. Accelerate down, down up, down up, down up, down, down up, down up, down up, down, down up, down up, down up. That is the single hand motion for 2 stick heights. Because I want you to notice when I play patterns like this, any pattern like that, what is usually happening in each hand is I'm just playing combinations of accents and taps on each hand. For instance, if I put my left hand over here, I'm playing combinations of 2s and 3s with taps. This is what each hand has to be able to do to play this. So if you can't do that motion correctly on each hand individually, then being able to put your hands together and have nice smooth taps and fluid, strong accents is not going to happen. So you have to master methodically the tap stroke, then combine it with the axe stroke into the single hand patterns. Now, the next exercise that you want to do is, it's on the screen here. It's accents and taps, but it's 8, 4, 3, and 2. So I'll demonstrate that now. First you play an accent followed by 7 taps, so 8 total notes. And then you cut it in half and we do 4 with the first an accent and then 3 and then 2. So we're going to keep the tempo kind of slow so we can really gain control over those taps and accents. On the repeat, we go to the left hand and do the same thing on the left. 1, 2, ready, and. Now 4. Now 3. 2s. And left. Last notes on the right hand is if you were going to repeat again. Now that exercise is fabulous. And each one of those sets, the 8s, the 4s, and the 3s, and the 2s have great value. And you should work on each hand, slow, speed it up, get control over those taps and accents. I do want to say that the last 2 measures, the groupings of 3 and 2, are very, very valuable. And once you get a handle on this, you should spend a little bit of time every day working on groups of 3s and 2s, single hand triplets. And work on your speed. First get the strokes down perfectly, then gradually work at different speeds. Get those taps to continue to drop. I want you to notice that each tap sounds and looks the same. We go faster. The motion and character of the tap still stays the same. Drop, down, 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 down. Now, usually what happens is as you start to speed up, you'll reach your maximum point and you'll start to lose control over those taps. And when that happens, you got to stop. You got to back up, slow back down, make sure you're controlling the stick, work on that first tap after the accent. Don't start to lose control. Starting to lose control over those taps often looks like this. It's like you're not keeping them low anymore. Drop, drop. And it comes from stopping the stick. Now, once you go faster and faster, you also have to have more speed and quickness in that accent hand to be able to keep up. By the time you're at this tempo, I mean, that accent's got to happen quick. You got to have some speed and strength in your right hand. But notice that all the taps stay right here. Once you've built up the speed, then when you put your hands together, if you can play single hand triplets this speed, then you can put your hands together and play this. And this opens up a lot of cool stuff that you can play in drumming. So get this tap stroke down, combine the hands together. In the next lesson, we'll look at the accent patterns and how to put the hands together and a whole series of tap, axe, and rhythm variations that are awesome. So let's do it.